how you doing? Charlie Winters here with selections for Thursday, the 23rd of June. But first, a quick recap. Well, depending on what time of the day you put your bet on, it looks like a money back day. Well, mine wasn't quite, because when I put my bet on, I only got 5 to 1 on the 20 to 1, well, the one that returned 20 to 1. So I'm not quite sure how you fared, but mine was, I think I lost £4 on the day. So let's get into Thursday selections. And Thursday is the start of the Northumberland Plate meeting. And I've never been so interested in a meeting like this one before. I never normally look, unless it's maybe Cheltenham or Aintree, 3 to 4 days in advance. But already, Brian Ellison's horses are standing out like a sore thumb. Don't get me wrong, there are a couple of others that I fancy that aren't his. But even on the first day, I have chosen one already. So let's get into it. So as what I've been doing recently, I'm putting two 25 pence each way lucky 15s on. The first lucky 15, I shall be taking the prices. The second lucky 15, I shall take the price of one horse and let all the rest run to SP. So let's get into it. Oh, and sorry, I've also had £2 each way on the first selection, but I'm going to get into that now. So let's get into it. So the first selection is Perception at 33 to 1 in the 10 past 2 at Newcastle, paying 4 places instead of 3. And yes, you guessed it, this is a Brian Ellison horse, and this is the only horse that I'm going to go into the form. Don't get me wrong, I've looked at all the form of all the other horses, but this is the one. I shall show you why I've gone for it. When I've picked my previous big price winners, big price each way that have come placed, and even the big price ones that have just not come placed, I followed the same format, or in a nutshell, in a roundabout way. So Perception, let me show you the form now. So I'm going to get the Racing Post up. First of all, it's a poor race, and it's certainly not a 33 to 1 chance. So let's get into it. So it's rated 46, right? Its first run, yeah, forget that. It's a 2-year-old, hasn't got a clue. Took keen old, held up, yeah. Second run, big improvement ratings wise, but still came last, yeah. It does not want 7.5 furlong. Sorry. It was keen on its debut. It certainly didn't want 5 furlong on soft. It had a break. Basically, they got a couple of runs into it. So when it made its 3-year-old reappearance, still came last, but it doesn't matter. Like, look at that. Race over a mile and 2. It more than likely doesn't want that far. In my opinion, it wants a mile. But it still achieved a Racing Post rating of 39, yeah? First time in the handicap, yeah? It ran a cracker, 100 to 1. Cam Hardy on board. Well, that's a coincidence, because he's on again tomorrow. So what it did was held up in rear, ridden 2 out, headway, went third inside, final 110 yards, kept on, yeah? It was off 47. It ran above itself by getting a Racing Post rating of 49. Yes, it was then put away for a bit, and it reappeared not too long ago. It will probably be put away to actually reappear for this meeting. You know what I mean? Lined up for this meeting. So what happened was, 16th of May, Carlisle, soft ground. Well, I'm thinking, straight away now, I'm beginning to think that maybe this is an all-weather horse. So let's get into it. So, I keep saying let's go into it. So let's delve a bit further. Don't get me wrong, I only beat one horse home. Soft ground. So you can put a line through it. If you think it doesn't like soft ground, it was held up at the back. The trip was maybe too short if I'm thinking it needs a mile. It might have hated the soft ground. Yep, and it ran well below itself. Yeah. So then it was brought out, but basically 12 days later. Catterick. It generally favours front runners or horses with pace. Yep. It got good to firm, so maybe you might have thought it wants good to firm. So, bearing in mind that isn't a handicap, that's a maiden. So it went off at 28 to 1 anyway. So, in rear, pushed on 3 out, ran on inside final furlong, not pace challenge. So, you think it needs an extra furlong. So it's off 47, Racing Post rating of 44. Well, it's been dropped a pound now. It's now off 46. And as you can see, Cam Hardy's back on board. And I think he's been lining this up for this race. It's not a great race, but I'm thinking that Keith Brown Keith Brown is, can you remember the horse, was it called Tonto Silver? Hi Ho Tonto? You might, I'm sure it had white feet, like a really, I think it was a flashy chestnut with white feet, light brown colour. I'm sure it was like Hi Ho Tonto. In fact, forget that, I'm going to tell you now. So I've clicked on the owner. Sorry for waffling, but this is the only horse I'm going to talk about. The other three, still fancy them rottenly. Right, Top Notch Tonto, that's the horse. You might remember it from a few years ago. So that's that horse. So I do think it'll run well. It'll be, I think, same kind of race. I think it's a class 6, and I think basically it's been trained for this race. So that's why I'm taking the price, because don't get me wrong, it could go to 50s, but I think at some point there's going to be money for it. So that's enough of me waffling now. That's the reason why I think it's got a cracking chance. So the second selection is Lednikov at 9-2 in the 5:45, paying 3 places instead of 2. This horse started running well when leading. It won on its penultimate start, then it was stepped up a further 2 furlong. If you can consider that it didn't stay that day, well, I think if it could attempt to make all again and will benefit from the previous run over too far. And I think Leicester's a really tricky course anyway, but they're paying 3 places instead of 2. I think it's 7 runners. Right, the final 2, as you can see, owned by the same owner. I believe it was the last selection that actually won the race last year. But I think personally, they've got them both ready for this meeting. It's the Ian Jardine stable. So the third selection is the Gloamin at 4-1, 7 o'clock at Hamilton, paying 4 places instead of 3. And the final selection is Rose Bandit at 15-2 in the 9 o'clock, paying 4 places instead of 3. Generally, I really fancy the horses that I give. I will not give horses unless I fancy them. But these 4, especially the first, third and fourth, really stand out as being interesting to me. So they're the selections for Thursday. And as you can see, I've had £2 each way on Perception as well. And I've also had the same Lucky 15, 25 pence each way. I've left Perception, I've took the price again, and I've left it SP, because I do think potentially these horses could drift. But Perception, I do think that, don't get me wrong, the reason why I give you this take the price bet is because if the first one wins, all of a sudden we've got what? We've got a tenner, basically heading towards a tenner each way on the rest of the horses. That'll be a cracking cash out. You could be talking 60, 70 quid straight away. Not guaranteeing it'll win. I think it'll run a cracking race. So that's enough of me waffling. Fingers crossed. The very best of luck. If you want to leave me the comments, leave me some comments in the comments. Or if you like this video, or even subscribe if you like what I've had to say. Please, I appreciate it. The channel seems to have paused slightly on its growth. I would love it if you can really help me and help it grow. So fingers crossed. The very best of luck. Charlie Winters, over and out. Cheers, mate. Oh, by the way, Perception is the nap. Cheers.